There we go. All right. Board of Directors has met in closed session to discuss claims. And I'd like to report out to the public that the board, by a vote of 5-0, has voted to reject those claims and instructed our manager to move forward accordingly. Okay, anything else, Michelle? No, that's okay, good. No, we have one more minute before we get into our next meeting.
There's a close second one off in minutes.
Okay.
7 o'clock. John?
Thanks.
We'll call to order the regular session of the Board of Directors of the Pleasant Hill Recreational Park District for Thursday, July 27th, 2023. My computer is, there we go, getting down. Let the record show that all directors are present. Dr. Tran, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Item number 3 on our agenda is public comment. I do have 2 slips from members of the public who are present this evening in person. I'm going to keep calling them first, and then we will see if there's anyone else in the room that would like to address us. Public comment is for any item not on our agenda to address the Board of Directors. It does appear that we have 2 items that would like to be addressed to us, having to do with nothing on our agenda this evening. So I'd like to first call on Brian Shenson regarding park access request.
Yes, hello, thank you.
Hello, Mr. Shenson.
Hello.
Brian, you can go ahead and sit in that seat.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'll be brief. Just wanted to bring the board's attention. As some of you may know, we've have creek erosion issues alongside Brookwood Park, and we have provided a park access request to Michelle Lacey, general manager, in support of a significant construction project to try and address the erosion that has come from that creek incision over the last many years, and most recently through the winter storm. So wanted to bring the attention to the park board that we are desperately seeking assistance here to accomplish this endeavor. Is an extremely expensive and complex and ambitious creek repair involving 4 other neighbors. We're being represented by a team of great professionals. Extraordinary. Time is of the essence. We have winter coming, and failure for us to act, which we can't really do under the current cost considerations, would further impact not only our properties, but many properties upstream as this creek continues to erode. So we are hoping that the board can, provide guidance and support in a quick review of this request so that we can move forward and hopefully accomplish this project. If we can't bring costs down, and park access is a big way for accomplishing that, we may not be able to accomplish the project at all.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing the details to our general manager. That is absolutely the proper thing to do. Michelle, is there anything more that you need to work with Mr. Shenson on in order to get information?
No, I received that today at 5:45.
Yeah, I know.
And
I want to acknowledge that we've been working very hard, and it's been delayed in getting, but there's tremendously complicated details here to navigate with the agencies, and we provided a very extensive package. Hopefully it provides all the information the park and the district needs to consider this request quickly.
Okay. Well, I know that we were meeting this evening. You were probably trying to meet the deadline.
So
So
we're definitely, thank you.
wonderful. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you for the
Shenson.
time.
Is it something that needs to be agendized from the board level or just the general manager?
After the general manager reviews it, since it will involve park access, most likely it will come to the full board.
Okay,
So,
sounds good. Thank you.
The next speaker is David Marion Polsky. Oh, Mr. Marion Polsky, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Same subject, I assume.
Same subject. I prepared my notes to be 2 minutes under my regular cadence. Unfortunately, there's a lot of overlap, or fortunately, so just allow me. Good evening. My name is David Marion Polsky of 18 Kellyanne Court, Lafayette, and I'm here on behalf of my wife, Megan France, my children, Jacob and Ezra, my 2 dogs, and our parakeet. We share a border with Brookwood Park, separated by the infamous Murders Creek. And we use the park like many in the neighborhood, walking our dogs, running the loop, and typically playing frisbee and soccer. I need to urgently request that this board consider the request for access that Carol Behan of Wildscape Engineering submitted. This request comes in concert with my upstream neighbors that live along Murderers Creek and all have sustained considerable damage from erosion. I want to acknowledge and thank my neighbors for the difficult collaboration that we are forced to endure. This emergency access is incredibly important, as multiple contractors and engineers have made it clear that accessing the creek through Brookwood Park would greatly reduce the cost for this project. The emergency erosion restoration and slope stabilization project that is being presented to multiple permitting agencies is our best solution to fix this problem. Being able to afford this project is one of the many challenges my neighbors and I face. Allowing access in an expedited manner may be our only chance to afford the necessary project before more land and property is lost to the out of control creek erosion. To be clear, access to the creek via the park would reduce total cost by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Please allow this access as soon as possible. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Rampolsky. Understand that the issue is access to Brookwood Park, and that you have provided, along with Mr. Shenson, information to our general manager. So thank you very much for coming this evening.
Thank you.
With us.
Happy
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public that are here this evening who would like to address us on any subject not on our agenda? Kevin, right? Please. This is Kevin Kennedy, right?
Yeah. I just want to thank Park Recreation and the staff and board members for participating and for making the success of the Woodwood Festival a few weeks ago. I went to volunteers and enjoyed it. And so I did volunteer to do it as well. So they want to give a huge thank you and couple of applause to the Park staff. Everyone here in Park Recreation, did a wonderful job. And I don't know the numbers up, but I'm sure they're pretty good. So I want to thank you for a quite successful event, and I'm sure Park Recreation will So I thank you for the event. I enjoyed it. I'm sure people enjoyed it, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you. We all got your email the day before the event, and I really appreciate your presence and your camera and taking photographs of the event for us. So anyway, our thanks to you as well. There will be a report later to the board of directors.
In August, yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, not tonight, but there will be agenda items in the future. So keep an eye out for that, okay?
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you for your comments, Kevin. Are there any other members of the public present who would like to address the board of directors on an item not on our agenda? Do we have any
Yes.
emails or raised hands?
I have a raised hand. I have Leslie Ofiana that I'm going to on Zoom that I'm going to allow to talk.
Hi, can you?
Leslie, you there you go.
Is
Leslie?
Fiona, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello?
Hello. So
Ah.
she's talking, but I can't hear her.
And so Fiona, if you can hear us, we can't hear you.
I know. Dang. Shoot.
Are you perhaps unmute?
No, she's not on mute.
Is there anything with our volume?
Yeah. I'm checking.
Hello. Huh.
Speakerphone. Yeah, it says it's not working. 1 second.
Can you see me?
It was working. Just use that for now.
Hello?
Hello.
There you are.
We'll use it here.
You can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, that's wonderful. Can you see me?
We cannot see you, no, we don't,
Okay.
we only have you on audio, so.
That's fine, but I can see all of you, so no eye rolling, please. Actually, I've lived here for 17 years and I live kitty corner to Brookwood Park. And the park's been very helpful to us for the past 17 years of my husband and myself living here. It was lovely because we could walk through our backyard, and many of the neighbors walk through our backyard to access Brookwood Park, which was actually part of the intent of building this neighborhood. But then we had a collapse of concrete and all sorts of things happened. And now we have a 20-foot gully that's 20 feet far and probably 20 feet deep. And it's ghastly. It's eaten a lot of trees, our twin redwood, blah, blah, blah. My husband and I are retired. And our challenge is that if the park can't help us out with the access, we probably won't be able to participate with the rest of the neighbors, which actually collapses the whole project because of the high costs. Being retired, we're on a fixed income. We don't want to move because we love our home, but without the park's help, we may need to move, and we're not willing to move, but we may need to move, and that would be at a huge financial loss. So we appreciate and thank you for your consideration and hopefully approval of being able to use the park access. And you all have been so wonderful to us for all these years in allowing park access to cut down trees and so forth. So I hope that will continue for this project that is so desperately needed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Obiana. There were two other speakers for this evening on the same subject. We appreciate it. Addressing us. Thank you.
Thanks, Leslie.
Are there any-
No, I have not. I have two raised hands, but they're for an item on the agenda. So Julie and Galena, you will be able to speak on under public comment on the Rogers Ranch presentation. So I'm not going to call on you yet. Soon, yeah. And I need to fix something.
Working before.
Thank you. Michelle, thank you for being able to work with the neighbors on this particular issue and bring us your recommendations. Okay. I'm going to close public comment now and move to item 4 on our agenda, reports and presentations. The first is to hear from Christian Rousset. Rousset?
Well done, yes,
Rousset.
yes.
Okay.
Bobby, can we turn on this?
Who is the president of the Rogers Ranch Heritage Center Board regarding the activities, programs, events, and maintenance at the ranch.
Right,
And I know that you probably, is John here? Are you just going to comment in public comment, or are you going to?
Well, I had pictures to show, so we can like Chris talk and then I'm talking fits if you have enough time. So you guys, we can just
yeah.
I just had pictures for the parts.
I'm just trying to.
So welcome. We do love it when our partners come and meet with us and let us know how things are going, what's working, what isn't, those kinds of things. So we look forward.
It came undone when you twisted the can.
We very much look forward to hearing from you.
Say how much I hate it.
I know.
I'm losing my voice, so I hope.
Oh, dear.
Yes, I'm going to recap. Michelle has asked me, invited us to this presentation, and I'm going to recap what has happened since COVID. I think that's where we lost kind of contact because we didn't have possibility to come here. However, since you resume, I've been reaching Zoom on Zoom. If you're not all of them, you're meeting John as well. So I'm going to do so, and John will more like recap with the pictures because that's will tell me more about what I have what to say. But also he's in charge of the garden in the land. So we work more like a team now, very close, and it's great because I can assist him with the land and the garden, and yet Marianne and John assist me as well with the farmhouse. So it's a lot of work. We are short on volunteers, and we all have a job, and we volunteer this as much as we can, and it's of course taking our weekends and all our spare time, which we love, because we are interested in what we do at the ranch and we live the Origin Park piece of land over there. So during COVID, we didn't have any event at all because we were complying with the county requirement as far as COVID. Matter of fact, we had signed and we had notified the public coming to the Origin Park land over there to wear a mask and follow the guidelines. And as far as the board, we still kept on maintaining the farmhouse, keep it clean, and also the group of who we are was working at the garden to still produce and be able to keep it clean.
You ever go to the next slide?
Excuse me?
You ever go to the next slide?
No, I think John is gonna go over.
Oh,
this
John's
slide.
gonna go. Sorry.
It's gonna
Okay.
be clearer that
Okay,
way.
okay, okay.
And also it will reinforce what I'm saying.
Okay.
So it's better, I think it's gonna be easier for you guys and for us as well. We talk about it and it's not gonna kind of be confusing and a back and forth situation. As I think you all know, during COVID, the new roof was installed on the farmhouse. And this was funded by partially our Rogers Ranch Heritage Center and you guys, right? So I think you have all the picture about the roof, the new roof. I want to just comment that when there is a situation like that with a contractor, even though you hire the contractor, John and I are there every day to assist them and make sure that the liability is enforced. And also when they need our assistance, we can help them, you know, as far as the weight of the truck, where to park, so on and so forth. And being a builder all my life, I think it's easy for me to help at this point. Everything happened well, and we passed the final. John and I also permitted an instant water heater installation, and with the Rogers Ranch Heritage Center found all this. We had the adequate plumber and electrician to do so. Anyway, I gave Michelle the drawings that I performed, the permit that I got, the building departments, and the final from the inspector. We also installed a new cooking range, and John has all the pictures. We both work on the picture, but he's going to show you that you can realize more where it's situated and how it looks. However, I know that Michelle and Cindy were at our mixer last week, and we saw the ranch is pretty neat and pretty clean and very entertaining so far. We stopped resuming our events last September 2022 with the Harvest Festival. That was of our normal event that we've been doing for, I think, 10, 11, 12 years routine. So, but it was interrupted during COVID, and we resumed that in 22. Then we had the holiday boutique at the beginning of December, I believe the 10th, and everything was wonderful. The public came back. Everybody was happy to be at the ranch again. And they were successful events. Now we are this year trying to resume the first expo event in April. I think it was April 10. I want to just comment quickly, and John can answer more questions and explain more if you like. For us, this year was a very difficult challenge to maintain on time, because if you remember, we had this big storm windy, windstorm and rain, and late in the season. Like normally we stop cleaning the room and all this February, March. We couldn't do anything until April. No volunteer wanted to help and stuff. That's why starting in May, the ranch was an all groomed like it is usually, but you understand why. And we just has to comply with Act of God. So we had a late maintenance on that. So we started April 10 with the expo back. That was the first time since probably was 3-4 years, and it was very successful. In June, we had a music concert at the ranch. We will see some pictures from the little concert, how nice and simple it is, and how much the public liked those. We had a presence at the June 28th concert at the lake here at City Hall. We had awning, and we were presenting our classes, what we do at the ranch, because more and more of the presenting community are interested, and still some people don't even know about the existence, and they are really curious and interested when we do. After that, July 13, we had, I think, a beautiful, very hot chamber mixer, which allowed businesses in Pleasant Hill to also come to the ranch and see. I think the last mixer we had was 4 or 5, 6 years ago, because it was on the Venice Cross lot. But we had one also very successful that people love. And 2 weekends ago, July 16th, we had a beautiful comedy event for the first time. And we have pictures to show you at this regarding that. We're not going to have any events in August because John and Marianne are going to be to Europe, going to Europe for vacation, and we need a break. Yeah, I know. I'm jealous. They go to the Dolomite Alps, and I used to go when I was a kid there. And when he's supposed to put me in his suitcase, but it didn't happen yet. The Harvest Festival will happen in September. We don't have a date yet, but we will. I will let you know if you want to. The Holiday Boutique as well is going to happen in December. It's very successful. People love it because local people have the chance to present their personal craft or produce, and they are really great for Christmas, and they fit the ambiance of the ranch with the authenticity of the story around. As you know, our old oak tree died, and we had to remove it. You guys took care of that. Again, John and I were there assisting. The contractor was taking care of, taking it down to make sure liability was enforced and all that. So there are a couple in the slides. My last item is to point out to you that we're going to see the situation with the siding. And in 2019, right before COVID, we had our last pest control, and the holes were so big, and we had an invasion of mice that we put, the pest company installed a chicken wire to block. But however, the siding material is really deteriorating. And I remember when we voted for the roof, Sandy, I remember you saying, well, if we have a roof now, we're going to have to take care of the rest of the house. And I think it's about time. So maybe you would like to consider that. We're not requesting anything. We're just pointing out that the siding is deteriorating badly since even when we first talked about it 5 years ago. So, and you'll see in the pictures. So that's it for me, unless you have questions. John?
Did you want to talk about?
Yes.
Is John going to talk about that, or are you going to talk about the board?
The board composition as today is these members plus Karen and Anna Zakaria, and now we have Ashley, right? Which is Ashley 6 medicine. What is her last name? Hamilton. Okay, she had joined us a month ago, which is wonderful because we are really active people, which is Herb Society or medicinal plants, so it's all related to what we do as far as classes. And what the culture we have over there, so I'm gonna let John to sit down here and continue and finalize.
All
We
right,
get to do the fun part, we have pictures.
but don't go far.
Yeah, you're gonna do it there.
Sit down, it's all.
You're gonna have questions, yeah. All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is John Matteson.
Hi, I'm John Jason. Yes, I'm on the board there as well. I'm the now the treasurer, dubious honor. So I get to do all the books. This is a lot of work. I had no idea. So there's a picture of our new water heater that we put in and our new stove. Keep going, Michelle, we'll go fast. Hard to see in there. Oh, this, I've been doing a lot of maintenance on the north side of the property. Michelle, this might be interesting to you. That there's the neighbor to the north who has a really lovely junkyard there. And all the stuff has died in there. There's a little embankment. So we've been cleaning it all out, which the good news is we're cleaning out all the fire hazard. Bad news is now we can see into the guy's yard. So I have a plan on that and to put some bushes and then partially fix the irrigation there. So anyway, just stuff we do. Keep going. More. We have a lot of busted up pickup trucks. There's a drain swale in there that I've been clearing out. I need to do it again. I didn't even know it was there until I discovered during the heavy rains. These are our rental gardens, which we're gonna probably hear about. We're trying to move somebody there. That's my cousin. We're often mistaken for the same person. I've been wiping out gophers, like it's just gopher mania this year. So I have like 100 photos of me with my gopher. Yeah, it's a big, I don't know, I think Tom and I trade notes on gopher killing, but gopher hawk isn't too. So we added the Herb Society. You can keep going. I think we know we still
Well,
teach.
I think that's important for the board.
Sure,
to see
yeah.
that screen there.
Okay, yeah, these are our partners. We have the Succulent Society, Herb Society, Urban Farm, which and then I'm still teaching farm to table classes with BBC there and some wine classes as well.
And the new partner, East Bay.
New partner is East Bay Herbal. That's Anna Boschemer. So she's going to teach classes there too, and we're trying to weave that in.
Is she one of your new board members?
No,
Did I
she's
hear
not.
that?
That's Ashley. She's not. That's another herbal thing. So we have a lot of herbal things. None are smoking. I know you were going to ask me that. Not naming names, probably. So what else? Classes. Yeah, we just continue to when we have time. We're going to try to do a tree care class if I survive the next round of things. We'll do it in September. Teach compost wine classes, which are fun. So you all should come to a wine class. This is DVC farm class. We have a lot of diverse students there that have never touched soil before. So a group out there, that's from this week. Flowers and beans and cardoons, and you knew that was a cardoon, right? That purple thing, right? You all thought, oh, that's an artichoke. It's not a cardoon. So
Continuing maintenance.
Oh yeah, continuing maintenance. Sorry, I'm too dangerous with my glasses. But yeah, so it's we have a lot of stuff going on with the rain gutters need to be cleaned out a lot, and the gophers continue. And I just got yellow jackets removed again. We use vector control for that. They're getting to be my good friends. But yeah, we do that. So. And then the painting and the siding, we've got to repair the front steps are falling apart, so we got to take care of that. So just stuff. So and then there's some pictures of siding. Paint's coming off in some areas. We rebuilt that retaining wall there on the right hand of the bricks that are there, but on the left you can see the siding. I didn't have a lot of pictures in here, but there's some parts of it that are looking gnarly. I'm not sure we totally agree on this, but I don't think we need to replace all the siding on there, but some of it for sure. So it's a question as to how antique that siding actually is, which I don't think it is based on what I've been able to resurrect from the history. So, but it can use some paint for sure. So, yeah, we have events we're trying to get more use out of the facility, and I know some of you have been to some of our events. Chris mentioned them all. And we just finished the comedy show, which was a big success, and we were there. So, no, you were drinking beer. You were drinking beer. I know you were drinking beer. Yes. some of Sandy, you can devastating. So Spring Expo. What else we have a spot that we carved out for musicians to play that works really good under the trees. So we've had a bunch of different bands over the summer, and last year we're playing music that's popular. The only trouble is we did manage to hit the 2 hottest Saturdays of the entire year. So the July one was a bit of a bust. There was a comedy show we did at night, we put up lighting and all kinds of things, and that was really successful. So and that's it. So we can stop with that, Michelle. Yeah, well, we'll cover that with our public comments.
Well, no, can you go through this before we get public?
Well,
comment?
I can, yeah. I mean, so we're hoping to relocate. She's gonna talk. We're hoping to relocate them to the rental beds. So that was our plan. Primarily because we want to clean that area and make it all one big herb garden. That the Herb Society is there. We want to make that all a presentable place. And
Are you talking about the area behind the house?
yeah, the backs up to the Hobart House, and then we'd also like to get some more use out of those rental beds or former rental beds that are down in the parking lot. So that's been our plan. So that's the part that we're talking about moving down to that area. So that's it.
And this is a picture of.
What's the picture of that?
That's the picture of the stuff that we're proposing to have moved down to the parking lot.
Oh,
It's
this
there
is
now.
got
It's a tomato garden.
Yeah.
By the rental.
That's behind the house to move it,
Yeah, it's on
Yeah.
the south side of the house, yeah,
to move it to
to the parking
the
lot.
parking lot,
Yeah.
rental beds.
Yeah.
to their community gardens.
Yeah.
Which is a
community
much
garden.
bigger area. yeah.
Right.
So that was our plan.
Okay.
So that's all.
I'd like to add the
Please.
comment regarding the siding. Remind everybody that we have a scope by the historical architect Steve Wing about what should be done. And John mentioned, yes, it's not all of it, but there are more than we show in the picture, like the one window and so forth. But now it's gonna come down to get a quote from the contractor that we never like to hire and following the plans, because that's what's gonna help us to get the permit. Right, makes sense.
Thank you.
So we can take that up as a separate topic, how to do it. We need some, and the windows, all the window panes, the glazing is old and falling out, so the window panes are starting to fall out, and fun stuff looks like so.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
and of course, it will be siding replacement and painting.
We'll do some of it. We're gonna do the steps right away because it's a safety issue, so we're gonna do that ourselves. We'll take that wood off and put new wood and paint down, so we'll do anything urgent. Siding, we're gonna work on.
And after that, we'll be in good shape for a while.
Before we go to public comment, I know there are a couple of people online and maybe others in the audience as well. Before we go to public comment, board members, do you have any questions or comments for our partners here at the Rogers Ranch Heritage Center? Yeah.
Well, I just think, that you're having maybe some space logistics with some of the rental beds that would seem to me like maybe a good problem to have, that you have a lot of interest and have to kind of consider, the logistics of where people's plots are. So maybe that's encouraging news. perhaps.
Well, it's more of there have been 2 spots, and so they're trying to consolidate into one. And so they're they're planning on moving the plots that were behind the house to the front of the community garden. So there's space there. So,
I got
yeah.
you. I thought there
And
was new
perhaps
interest.
land and facilities could take a field trip.
Okay.
And just, on that note, so, and I told Christian and John this, but Land and Facilities has recommended putting funds in the CIP to help with siding and some of the other things. So that will come to the budget committee. We'll just figure out how much money we have, but it is in play, so.
Yeah, and I should mention, by the way, that one of the reasons we have done all these events is since I inherited the role of treasurer, I look at the books there and I say, holy shit, we need to save, holy cow, we should, we need to keep money in there to keep that house put together. So we're, you know, a lot of the reason behind the events is to raise money to keep money that we can help keep the place going. So it's a bit terrifying to look at. I mean, we have money, but you know, a project like that can eat up a lot of money in a hurry. So we have, I guess, I don't know if you know, but we put in an enormous effort in the last month and a half to produce events to get money, to put it in, which all goes towards how do we keep this place going. So maybe not easy to understand just how much effort we put into it, but we put in a lot of effort. And yeah, we raised some money, but you know, it takes a lot of time and effort with those events to raise, you know, some money. Not as lucrative as Birds and Brew and things like that, right? So we do what we can.
Other questions or comments from board members? Sandy?
Did you have a goal on how much you wanted to raise with those last two? And I am sorry I didn't get to be there, but
Yeah,
you know that I attend your.
yeah, you come to you're a mainstay on most events.
But did you have a goal and how close were you?
We didn't really have a goal because it was hard to figure out what, you know, every one of these is kind of a new thing to do. So I will say we did better on ticket sales for the comedy show than the first time we did it. And we did better on food sales the first time we did it. So overall, we were about 50% more than what we had made on the first one. So yeah, so I'd say, you know, I didn't have a number in mind for sure, but we did it. Now, you know, the other thing is we're actually paying people now to help us do this, right? Because we just can't, there's not enough of me to like cook food and do that and him, and you know, so we're working hard to raise money to pay people to get the events, to put money to keep the house going. So it's a big circle of effort, you know, to do that. So if we should have a target, I agree, for future ones.
So what's an example of that, John?
An example of a
Of
target.
your hiring.
Oh, well, I paid some of my former culinary students to help us do food for the comedy show. So it's good, but of course that cuts into what we take home to make. So, but I can't cook dinner for 150 people by myself. So that's had to have it. So, yeah, so
But to Sandy's question, did you have a range of what your goal, your financial goal was?
Yeah, well,
1,000 to 3,000?
Yeah, we knew what we made before, so we made a little bit more than that. So yeah, so that's.
So was that the goal range? Somewhere between 1,000 and 3,000?
Yeah, so here's what I can tell you is with an event like that, 150 people is plenty for that facility. And we were thinking about doing 200. If you do 200 people, you have to rent a bathroom, you know, all that kind of thing. So at 150, we can get away with no bathroom. So I don't know if you want to know the exact number, it's you know, 1,500 is minimum we would make, and north of that is good. So we made $1,700 if that's what you're asking me.
Yeah,
So
it helps to know
yeah,
kind of what your range is.
yeah, we made $1,700 in ticket sales and about $400 in food sales, and then I'm going to pay about $800 out of all of that for this, the help that we needed. So, so net after all the events that we've done since July, we've netted about $2,800.
When you since July, you mean in July or this year?
Well, since the last week of June.
Yeah,
So,
okay, got it.
so yeah, and now from that, we're going to pay $800 in people who helped us do maintenance and cooking and cleaning. So it's a lot of effort to make not much money. I wish it were otherwise.
Other questions and comments?
Is that answering your question?
It is, yeah. No, that was nail on the head. Thank you, Jim. Yeah. All right, let's go to public comment then. Is there any member of the audience who is here to speak to us on this particular issue? No?
We don't have any speaker cards from in the audience, but I do have two speakers on Zoom. So
Okay, let's take that.
first, I'm going to allow Julie to speak.
Hello.
Julie? Hello.
Can you hear me?
And this is Julie who?
Yep.
Yep, my name is Julie Kantorowski. I'm the daughter of Galina Zelevinsky, who is the one that was mentioned, who owns or who's been working the plot on Rogers Ranch. I am actually gonna have her do the first comment. And if she misses something, if you can come back to me, that would be great. I am primarily here for moral support otherwise. Does that work?
Yeah, yep. So I will go ahead and allow Galina.
Yep, and if her audio doesn't work or anything, come back to me as well. Thank you.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yep, hello.
Do you? Okay.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Do you see me now?
We don't.
No, we don't see you. We only hear you.
Okay, good. So my husband Lev and I are the people whom John inherited. We are at the ranch for 16 years. And during this period, I would say that we supported the ranch, which we love, through donations. We donated to the Historic Society, to the project of rebuilding the barn. We planted 2 apple trees. We removed around our plot. Lev helped Denise to establish grass lawn in front of the house. Lev also cut metal sticks for John. It was several years ago, maybe he forgot. He helped to dismantle the beds that are now empty. We always paid in time for everything that was asked from us. The last time we made a donation was this month. We follow the rules. So when we were asked to remove some stuff, we did it immediately. We also had a very good relationship with former presidents of the Rogers Ranch, with Denise Koroslev, with Aloma Levine, and now with John, with Chris. We always buy materials on our own. We never ask for anything. We were just provided with hoses twice during this period. And we have a lot of community appreciation. There are working groups from Walnut Creek and other cities and towns. They come and they enjoy the walks, and they compliment us on maintaining our garden in a very good way. And they ask permission to take pictures, and they also ask for recipes, and they ask how to grow such a beautiful tomatoes and so on. We are happy with the spot that we have now. And during those years, we have invested a lot to improve that land. We brought a lot of soil and nutrients, and we always kept everything organic. We built the raised beds and the trellises. Now the garden looks beautiful. The pictures that you looked at, they were taken a while ago. You all are welcome to come now and see how beautiful the garden looks. We are asked to move and to start using the boxes that have been dismantled 5 or more years ago. They are in such a state now that it would cost us a lot of physical efforts and financial efforts to restore them. And as we now have huge problems with gophers and rats and mice, so we would need to remove all this old soil and to put the metal net on the bottom of these beds, and then bring absolutely new soil, and then make the trellises and everything, and it would cost way over $500. That's we estimated. Also, at our age, it's not an easy task to do. My husband is 11 years older than I am, and he's turning 80 the beginning of the year. So we do not know how many years we'll be able to enjoy the results of this transition. And also we were not given any explanation of why they want us to move, because Chris told us that we shouldn't ask questions. First he said that it was the Herb Society who wanted us moved. Then he said Michelle, then other people. Then he said, do not ask any questions or you will be, or you will have to leave that range forever. So it's not a good thing. We would prefer to stay at where we are. And
Galina,
yeah,
Galina, this is Sandy Botto. I'm chair of the board here. We have a 3-minute period for public comment. I was wondering if you could please wrap up your comments for us.
So which comments do you want me?
Yeah. So Galina, your time has expired. So is there anything else that you would like to say?
Okay, so I said I just want to add that Christian said that we can join the September board meeting, and we hope that at this meeting they will reconsider moving us to a different spot. That's it. Thank you so much for your patience and your time. Okay.
Thank you very much for joining us this evening. We appreciate your comments. Okay. Was that was a tandem?
Yes, yeah, it was, yeah.
Okay.
It was,
John and Christian, we'll kind of wrap this up, but I'd ask you not to rebut this particular comment. That that's not the point of public comment. And I know there'll be an opportunity later for you to meet with Michelle and others to discuss some of these details.
Our board is not in session either, so we cannot comment.
Right. Also, I like to add that this is a situation inside for the branch.
I really want not to be there.
We're not gonna
any discussion.
there's not anything.
We're having our board meeting, and it's gonna be an item on our agenda in September. That's what I want to say.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right.
Okay. I want to thank you both for being here this evening and for your presentation, for being willing to answer our questions. And I know we look forward to having a further conversation with you. Michelle, anything further that
nope, we'll continue to work with Christian and John and the rest of the board. I do want to say that that per our operating agreement, we do have a staff liaison assigned, and Lance Hurtado is going to be our staff liaison, especially since he's responsible for building maintenance. He's the person who will be going and attending, as well as we'll be reviewing the operators agreement. I spoke with Christian about it's time for us to look at some things that are actually happening and maybe things that we need to do instead of the Heritage Center board. So that will come back to the board at a future date.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you both very, very much
for all your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see you later. Yeah. I'm going back to a dinner party unless you want me here.
Nope, you're good.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, John.
All right, bye.
Good night. Good night, Christian.
All right, bye.
Christian, you're welcome to stay. There's no reason for you to leave, but if you wanted, I'll say good night to you. Item 4.2 is a report from General Manager, Michelle.
Yes, I have a written report, so I don't really have a lot to add other than two things. One, I had an update on the bocce court project. I am pleased to announce the bocce courts will be ready for play on Saturday, which is our first day of league play. So we made it on time. Staff has a meeting out there with the contractor tomorrow to talk about ongoing maintenance of that new surface. So we're super excited about it. So that was great news. And
getting those details in writing for posterity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. So we'll have all that, and then Jen Thwaites and myself will be at the library. I put anniversary party. It's actually their birthday party, they're calling it. So we will be out at the library to celebrate 1 year of success of that project. We'll be answering questions about our future project, as well as handing out surveys, as well as hosting the train for the event. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Questions for Michelle? Is the train the one that we rented for?
It's not the same one. It's a rented train, but it's not the same
Not the
rented
same
train.
one, okay.
Correct. Yes.
Anyway, I'm sure
Yeah.
that's just great.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we're participating that way.
Yeah.
Also glad that the truck's been found,
Yes.
and hallelujah for that. Good. Hopefully we can find the people that.
Minus a
Right.
Yeah.
A couple of other damage.
Yeah.
Apparently someone was living in it in Berkeley along the side of the road, so.
Well,
Yeah.
any public comment on that particular item?
I have nobody's raised hands on the general manager.
Right.
report, no.
We will close item 4 and move to consent calendar, which is to approve the bills to be paid and to approve resolution 2023-07-27, declaring certain equipment as surplus, including the diving board. Does anyone want to pull anything out of either of these particular items? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for motion to approve 5.1 and 5. I guess we should approve them separately, shouldn't we?
No, it's consent calendar. You can approve them all
We'll
together.
approve the consent calendar then. We have a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Approval.
Thank you, Bobby. Second,
I'll second.
thank you, Derek. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. All in favor? Aye. 5-0. I'm waiting.
I was gonna let you go.
Oh, there it is.
I won't let you yet.
There we go. Thank you.
Delicate dance.
Action item 6.1, yay. 6.1 is to authorize the general manager to enter into a professional services contract with True North Research, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $29,850 to provide services to determine the feasibility of placing a bond on a future ballot. And it appears to me we may have, do we have a visitor?
No.
No?
No.
Oh,
Oh, well.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. Is that someone I recognize?
Not for, yeah.
Okay.
Not for this item, so no.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Then Michelle.
Yeah, so the board may recall that when we hired Larry Trematola Incorporated, part of the process in a feasibility study was to obtain a polling, basically a polling research firm, and so with that knowledge, the board set aside a certain amount, or we set aside enough money to cover the prospective cost of that. At the time, you set aside the money for the entire project of $150,000. And so at this time, I am recommending that we utilize True North Research Incorporated. Their proposal is attached for the board. The timing of this research would be in September. Is when they would conduct the research, which is after we get our initial survey results, so we can test some of that in the polling. One of the things I liked about True North Research was the ability of them to be able to make sure that the survey results that they provided was representative of our actual voter makeup, right? So they were going to make sure that they received enough of the responses from the segments of the population that actually vote in our community. So I was very pleased with that. I was also pleased with the fact that that the True North Research will test 3 different options for the board as far as when to potentially go and what the differences may be in turnout or support. So that was good, and as well as he was very candid in providing in the recommendation he'll provide to the district and the board. He will be very candid as to whether or not we could be successful or not, or what we could do to be successful. And so he has no, this research firm doesn't have any skin in the game. We're paying him a set fee, whether we go to a bond or not. So so I was really pleased with his impartiality. Larry lets me know, or Larry believes that he's the best in the business. and his words. And so I am recommending that the board authorize me to enter into a professional services contract for the set price of $29,850. It will be all inclusive. We will use our standard professional services contract for this. So that was already vetted by our legal attorney.
We'll start with questions for Michelle based on this proposal.
I have a couple.
Sure.
I think you may have answered it, but I'm kind of curious, how our, current effort with the survey is gonna maybe help tie into, this, and maybe it's expanded effort.
Yeah, so this will inform, we'll be able to test that, because obviously our initial survey is not scientific in any way. Someone can respond multiple times. But it's that survey is giving us an opportunity to not only test the questions we asked, but also the comments that we're getting. So we're getting a lot of comments about splash pads. We're getting a lot of comments about pickleball, that weren't on our survey. And so in speaking with True North, they were very pleased that we were doing that so that they can have that information and help us formulate some questions around that to test that information as far as how it actually translates into voters.
I had a question about within the scope of work. It says there's this computer-assisted telephone interviewing program. The same survey instrument to ensure accurate and reliable data collection. And down below it says all recruiting and data collection conducted by telephone is performed by live professional interviewers. We do not use robocalls. What is computer-assisted telephone interviewing if that's not robocalls?
I do not know. I would have to find that out.
Okay. All right. The timeline I loved. The second portion of the timeline, after the 5 days, there's a 10-day period of time when a questionnaire is designed and reviewed and approved. Will there be a board meeting, or what will be the opportunity of the board to review the survey narrative?
I'll work with True North and Larry on that time, on those specifics.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll work with them, similar to what we did last time. Those of you who were here, we brought the survey to the board, and not to wordsmith, but to talk about the general general approach. And so we'll work. I talked with True North and Larry about the importance, because it is a survey for the board, making sure that the board provides input. And so we'll figure out what the most appropriate timing of that is. So it won't be staff driven. So, it'll initially be staff driven, but it'll initially be staff driven, but it won't only be staff, I should say.
Okay. Those are my own questions, and looking through this work scope and certainly the qualifications of this. Well, let me bring it back to the board for discussion. Thank you for looking at me. Let's have some discussion about this contract. Let's support questions.
I thought it was comprehensive. I was pleased to see, and Larry had indicated that when we first met with him and when he went over his proposal on who he would use. And I remember him saying that, that True North was the best in the business. So I was happy to see the proposal written the way it was, what they were going to be doing. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they take the initial real rough information that we've been getting and use that to develop their particular survey and go forward and figure out if it's going to work. We hope so.
Good. Thank you. Good comments. Derek.
I had a comment, I reviewed this, and I feel like, they seem to have the right credentials for this, but, I didn't see what like an example deliverable would be, like what we're expected to receive. They talk about, the cross tabulation of some of the data. And I think a lot of it is in how the data is presented and, interpreted, and other things that we might be able to get. I don't know if that's something that could possibly be furnished just as a.
You will get a comprehensive report.
Yeah.
And you will get the comprehensive report with information so that you can make a decision. Number one, whether you should go out for a bond, what projects you should go out for based on responses, as well as timing. So that is, and you will get a very comprehensive report.
Okay, I just didn't see anything in the proposal that might, give some perspective on what.
Yeah, it's,
what it looked like, but
Most of that information is usually proprietary. I mean, so, but we didn't ask for that. So I know that we will get a thorough report. Based on the proposal, I know I'll get a thorough report. And then staff will make sure that we get the information we need. So,
Just a report and presentation to the board.
yeah, yes.
I had a question about, there was a question, there's one about pre-testing the survey instrument.
Yeah.
How, do you know how they're gonna do that and to whom?
I'm guessing they're gonna pre-test it based on, whatever they typically do. So, and it's more, they have to, I think they pre-test it to make sure that the questions are randomized and the things that are going through that. And so I don't know specifically what their process is, but it's important that they do pre-test, but I don't know. Since they're not gathering that information, I think they're just making sure that it works. So because there is an online, there's a specific online component. I did ask about that. And so that online component has a specific link with a specific passcode. And so it can't be used multiple times. And they have a lot of, this is their business and they have a lot of safeguards in that. And so, and they're the experts, so I need to let them do what they do.
Bobby, you were integral to the last effort. How does it strike you in terms of eliciting the information that we need?
Yeah, for all the reasons I think Michelle outlined, this being a third, this is it's apples and oranges compared to the last process. And I'm much more confident in this process because I think this is the process that, in my work, this is how we operate with third party, vendors. And then also the added component of that is that the fact that they've worked with Larry before and Larry recommended them because Larry's utilizing this group to come back to us to tell us either yay or nay. And if yay, this is how we do it. If Larry doesn't get the information that he needs out of this, then he doesn't have anything to go forward with. We don't have anything to go forward with. So I'm complete with it. I looked these folks up when Larry had that in his initial proposal because I had not heard of them and had not worked with them, but looked at the people they've worked with and the pricing is in line with other things that I've been a part of. And yeah, I'm completely confident that these folks are gonna, come back with a thorough enough report to paint us a picture on how to proceed.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I'm sorry, I cut you off in your questions or your comments.
And I just have one more question on some kind of a similar question on timeline. It seems like a fast time, so 5 days, 10 days, 10 days. So it's very, very quick. And I was just curious because there are sections in there about meeting with the district and district review, where we as a board would be able to input into the process, even knowing that they're professionals, they know what they're doing. We have some skin in this game as well too, that we want to make sure the data that we're generating is actually actionable and good data as well. So are we, within this quick timeline, are we going to have some kind of input from the board side or some sort of midway presentation or something along the way that we can input into this process, or do we just let them go and say,
there
30 days from now,
the 2 times the board would, or the 1 time the board would input into this process is at the survey development side. So we will come, so there's a 10-day period and but so that is when when we're developing the survey and we have a draft survey, that's when the board will give that input. Then they will go do their thing. They will bring us back data and then they will provide that data to the board with their recommendations. So, so that's really the only time. We talked about that. They've worked with public agencies, so he knows the process, as well as, me letting him know that this needed to come to the board for approval. He goes, I well understand that. And so, his timeline, he tells me they work very fast. And so they're fast but accurate. And that they can get it done pretty quickly. So, but we'll definitely loop the board in. So,
okay. And then the only other thing I wanted to ask was, and I had asked this in several contexts, is that I am, for lack of it, not necessarily concerned, but I want to make sure that whatever survey that we present or we develop doesn't have it built into it inherent biases. We create a bond and then I promise certain segments of the public saying, we will create this for you because you answered the survey, because you are the most likely voter. You know, like the presentation that Larry did before was the majority of the voters in the last one was mainly white, mainly older. That's the majority. And so the survey is going to target mainly white, mainly older, right? Because that's the likely voter. I just want to be sure that we don't necessarily disadvantage groups who may also need to participate in our parks, but they won't have an input or say into it. And so we already sort of promised something to a group that said we want pickleball. Well, that might attract a certain group of people. But I just want to make sure I didn't see that in there, that they would actually outreach or try to outreach to other groups who may potentially want to participate, but not be able to do so in their methodology.
Well, this is specifically for passing the bond. So that,
Yeah.
so it's
I
two,
understand
it's two entirely different things. So so this process is for the likely voters. Those are the people we are going, those are the people we're targeting.
Right.
But eventually, when you guys decide what your projects are going to be, it's going to be using this information plus any other projects you think you need. That will be included in your resolution. And so so there may be another step, but this is specifically likely voters. And so they are not going to outreach to anyone except the likely voters.
No, I understand that process, but as this is sort of why I'm bringing it to when we institutionalize this for thinking, it kind of just rolls with it, right? When we say likely voters would then influence how we develop the bond, which then influences our sort of promise to the voters, like we developed this bond to produce this project for you. So that's all built in, that's institutionalized, right? So I just want to be sure that we're in the very beginning of this, that we don't sort of just roll through and sort of institutionalize that thought process where it's like, well, these are the voters that wanted to vote for, so we developed the bond based on the voters, and therefore the bond is doing this project without actually thinking about other people that could have inputted into that process. And we're building things that were focused to a segment of the population and excluding others. So I just want to be sure that we're not doing that. I understand that this is for the bond, but hopefully you can see that just want to be sure that we're not sort of boxing ourselves in where we're like, this is what we're going to do, this is what we promise to do to people, and therefore we're going to do these projects.
I think the proof will be, the proof in the pudding will be with whatever they bring back to us as the narrative, the survey narrative. And then we can critique it from that perspective, but I endorse what Michelle's response was. We need to focus right now in who's going to help us pass this bond measure. What happens after that endorses the sorts of things that you're concerned about. So I don't, if you see institutionalization of bias in the survey questions, promises of things that we're not willing to promise at this particular point, that will be the time for us to talk about it. That's my view anyway.
Well, I think I would have to disagree with that, because when you develop the survey now, the polling survey, you're essentially developing the types of projects you're going to do, right? In a sense, because when you develop a bond, you say, well, I'm not going to use the $60 million until I know what I'm going to get from that. And so you've already built into that process sort of an inherent promise. Say, if we $1 million, we're going to build X for you. And so that ties us. And so I just want to be sure that we're thinking about this so that it's equitable, in the sense that we're not just boxing ourselves into the people who are likely to vote, and therefore that's the bond that's going to go out for it, and therefore that's the project we're going to build based on that. So I actually see that as a continuous process, and not that we built the survey and then a bond, and then, oh, by the way, got all this money, and therefore now we're building a diversity component after we promise all this stuff down the line. And so I just want to make sure we just put through an entire process that we just are aware and cognizant that there are other communities out there that may want to participate, but may not be outreached because they're not likely voters.
Can you give me an example? What I think I understand what you're saying, and I don't think I would disagree with you. I just don't see that happening. But I think maybe if you could provide an example of what your concern would be, that might help me understand a little bit more, like what to make sure we.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. So 15% of the population is Asian here in AUPI. Only 5% of them are registered voters.
Okay.
So where's the other 10%? Are they going to be outreached to?
So you're saying, so 50% of the population.
15%, yeah.
15%,
Yeah.
and 5%, and only 5% of that 15, or
Just
5% of the agent population are registered voters?
Yeah, and in fewer of those actually vote, right? So that's a problem within the Asian community that just in the culture itself, voting is not a huge, so outreach is very important.
Which is a whole nother issue.
It's a whole nother issue, right? It's a whole issue. So they don't register to vote, and those who register to vote actually don't go vote, right?
Mhm.
And so then we and it's significant, it's the highest minority community in Pleasant Hill, right? And yet the voting percentage is very tiny. So there's a concern to say, well, they're not likely voters, therefore they won't be outreach. And they compose a huge component of our community, right? The city spent the entire time breaking up the entire city simply because the Asian community was such a high percentage that they were forced to break themselves up in districts. And yet they are not the likely voters, right? And so I just worry someone that we're not getting their opinion because they're not likely voters. And so then therefore, whatever survey we build, we're not taking to that view.
So my thought is that, you know, I mean, this is the likelihood that that's what's happening with this particular thing. But once we get that, you know, we're gonna know what projects, you know, or we're gonna get a recommendation on what types of projects people would likely vote to spend money on. And then we as a staff, we as a district can go, okay, well, here's the list. Let's go out to those communities. I'm still yet to get you to tell me how to get to those communities, by the way. So that is a concern. So, you know, you continuing to say staff needs to outreach to them and you're in that community and not can't tell me how to get to them. You know, that is difficult. But I think that we can then take that and go, okay, well, now let's outreach to those communities based on the information and see if any of these things are important to them or if they have anything else. And so, you know, it's difficult. But I think we'll have other opportunities. It's not going to be, well, here's your polling information. Now we're going to go for a bond. We're looking at 3 different bonds in 3 different timeframes next year is what we're looking at, right?
Yeah.
Most likely, probably not going to go in March because we'd have to put it on the ballot in November, right? I'm pretty sure that we might not be leaning towards that.
But I think to you know, Director Tran, Secretary Tran's point is because we are, I mean, I'm trying, the last time, you know, we did this is I mean, this poll is going to be pretty extensive in the list of projects, probably, you know, like the top, you know, 25 projects or things that could be provided, and some will probably have some vagueness to them and some will probably have more specifics. But then I think, you know, then we're going to see, as we did before, okay, these projects pulled very high. I think where your comment's going to come in is if all of a sudden the information we get back says, hey, this could be successful with these core projects being the core focus because they poll at, you know, 75, well above the 67% threshold. And then if you're an opinion, those projects don't represent that part of the community that isn't being represented because they don't vote. I think that's where the conversation is going to happen. And I feel that's going to be a tough conversation for all of us, where we're going to probably need some information because it's going to be hard to get information. And we're putting the cart way before the horse here, by the way. But if we get information that says, you know, hey, 70% of the public supports this, and then to say just arbitrarily, well, hey, I think that, you know, like this group right here might want something that's not even on there. It's tough to, and it'll be a discussion, obviously, but I think if the more information we can get from those groups that may not be voters in advance of that, it may be that everything lines up, you know, perfect. They want the same things, but it's going to be tough to sit here and say at that point. I'm just kind of previewing that conversation because I think it's one that we want to have and need to have, but it's going to be hard to just arbitrarily say, I don't think that this represents this group or this group, when we don't know. And so I think that's going to be in the meantime.
And I did pose a similar question. So I know that the polling is attempting to get the, you know, what our demographics are as well, like the number of men versus women, you know, similar ethnic breakdowns to what we can get, you know, basically. So good polling data should also provide that for us. And so we should be able to cross tab by, those that, of certain ethnicities. Maybe it's the BIPOC community as a whole, or just the Asian community, and see what their high priorities are. That is what good polling data
And
can do.
that's a good point. I mean, maybe that's something that could be expressed to the consultant, is that we would want to make sure that we have 5% of the
Yeah.
Asian population in the,
Yeah.
5% of that voting pool or the polling
Yeah.
that comes in
And I will
needs
make
to be
sure that-
representative
Mhm.
of the
I think that,
actual.
and then I think
Yeah.
that's what I was getting at, because I didn't see that was the
Okay.
case in this particular thing.
Yeah.
And so and my comment is basically, I just want to be sure that whatever sample that they grab from is actually representative of the community at large.
Which
And
we
it-
need-
And it wasn't very clear that that was the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah. And it was a conversation that I had with him, especially since I went to the GM summit and heard another pollster have a conversation, talk about how important that was. So I made sure I asked the question. So, yeah, so well, I'll reiterate that.
Yeah, I think that's an important
Yeah.
point to make to the consultant, in advance of that, that's what we're, we'd like to see that as, as close as possible in all aspects of the population.
Good discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have, an action item, excuse me. So I'd like to call for a motion. Sandy?
I'll move that we authorize the general manager to enter into a professional services contract with True North Research Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $29,850 to provide services to determine the feasibility of placing the bond on a future ballot.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the True North proposal for survey services associated with the bond project, future bond project. All in favor? Aye. None opposed. It's 5-0, Susie. Thank you all. Good discussion. And just lost. There we go. Welcome back. All right, and item number, did we have any public comment on that?
No.
By the way. Okay, thank you. Item number 7 is verbal reports from committee chairs and opportunity to set meeting dates. Thank you, Susie. Everything looks like TBD.
Except I missed one. We have a land and facilities development committee scheduled for 8/9 at 8 a.m. So that is there. And then I sent 3 emails out today, trying to get dates for a budget committee, a program committee, and a personnel committee. So we can either find a date now, or you can respond to my emails. So.
Yeah, can I respond? I mean, I
Yeah.
think I'm good.
Yeah.
There's just, I think that Thursday I can't,
Okay.
and then I'm looking at these ones right now
Okay.
for personnel, so I'll respond.
Yeah, if you guys can just respond back to me, we'll find something. So, but I sent 3 emails. So.
Yeah,
lots of-
vacation.
Okay, great.
Okay.
I know it's a hard time,
Is
but
it 2 committees or 3 committees?
3 committees.
3 committees, have those persons.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
It's just that during that week of the August 21st is that.
We'll work
Got
it
it.
off.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for not only working that out, but also moving the business of the district forward. Appreciate it. Item 8, board announcements and requests to staff. Bobby.
Just congratulations to the Pleasant Hill Dolphins for they had city meet, I think in 3rd place, and good showing. I think we had 180 swimmers out at Northgate High School.
Wow.
Very great spirit. The theme was superheroes, and we were Spider-Man. So it was pretty cool to see all the PhD hats and Pleasant Hill well represented. So good group. But yeah, that's it.
That's it. Wonderful. Thank you. Derek.
Well, I had an opportunity to speak with Melanie Graham, our DEI consultant, and that was really informative. Got kind of like a little advanced peek on what she's been developing as far as, or actually what I should say, all the staff have really been developing in terms of the DEI plan. It's nice in that she's formed these groups that help write sections of that. So there's a lot of ownership of the staff into the contributions that are being made into that document. So it was really a very nice conversation. And I felt like there are certain things that, there will be actions to take from that, some things that may seem easy, but, there can be some barriers to getting them started, but she's optimistic about, how it's coming along.
Was your conversation in person or on phone?
No, in person. We met here at the senior center actually today, so it was fresh on my mind. And also this past weekend, I was at the summer concert series by the lake. I was really happy that, you know, the Pleasant Hill Park District was out there to kind of represent and provide some, you know, information about upcoming, you know, activities and programs. Obviously, I went through the recent spotlight that came in the mail and already marked out like the things that I'm looking forward to doing, signing up for. Excited about the esports, you know, kind of new program for some kids that, you know, tend to be behind the screen all the time. They can get, you know, and actually play with other kids in a room together, even if they are still on their screens. And then, sorry, at the summer concert series, one of the things that had come up is I was working the Civic Action Commission booth, and we also provided out some of the survey cards at that point. One of the residents who didn't know that I was on the board started kind of you know, criticizing the district and some of the questions that they had on the survey being not representative of the things that they would necessarily like to see. So I encouraged him to, you know, write those down. He was mostly interested in, you know, opportunities for like a Japanese tea garden or some of those things that weren't necessarily part of the survey. So I am kind of interested, as you had said, like,
We have lots of comments.
what the notes are, because, you know, oftentimes, you know, just the ratings is one thing, but the comments are really informative. So I'm looking forward to see some of the results from that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Secretary Tran.
Yeah, I got the spotlight as well too. I was happy
Yay.
to see that. I don't think I've received one in quite a while. So it's great to, whatever they did to fix it, it looks like it's fixed. So I did get that, and that's also well marked up. I guess Tuesday is they open it up, yeah, to register. So hopefully I just want to encourage staff to be sure that, you know, it's probably not going to be like the summer camps or anything, but just be sure that we have the capacity to take signups as best as possible. I wasn't able to attend Blues. I wanted to attend Blues and Brews at the work. Unfortunately, I couldn't sneak away. So I apologize for not doing it. I think my family did go to the Friday session for a little teeny bit, and so heard it was fun. So congratulations to the staff for putting that on. Sounds like it was a great event. Wish I could have been there, but maybe next year. So I'll try to do that. And that's it. Thank you.
All right. Vice Chair Vincent.
I've everything everybody else has said. Blues and Brews, it was hot, but there was plenty of shade. They had the misting tent, great music and cold beer. So what else can you ask for? Except
Cooler weather.
well, not cooler weather and not double up so that we can go to the other event at Rocky Branch too. It was well attended, Blues and Brews, and I think there was a lot of shade, and the way they did the beer tent and with the tables and the umbrellas, that all worked out well. But you could find shade, and it made it much more comfortable. Also got a chance to talk to Chris and Jen at the booth at the summer concerts, and had some friends that had not seen the handout that we were giving to people, so gave a few of those away. And also at Blues and Brews, we had stacks of those, and there were several people coming up besides buying tickets for beer. We had the opportunity to ask them if they'd seen this, and most of them were really looking forward to taking a look at what was going on. And yes, they can answer, hi, you know, they want this, but there's all kinds of room to put other information in there when you go to the
Gotten paragraphs.
Yes, yeah.
There it is. There's not a cutoff.
Yeah. But that was fun. And then just a reminder, National Night Out is Tuesday, August 1st. I'm going to be gone all next week, but it is a fun event. We usually go all the time. And it is an opportunity to let our police department know we do appreciate them, and they're out there and front and center. The kids love talking to them, and they have a lot of their little things that all their toys that they use. It's just a nice evening, and it looks like the weather's going to cooperate, so it won't be so hot. So that's all I have.
Good, nice. Well, Blues and Brews was a blast, but staff worked their butts off. It was hot. The computer charging wasn't working as everyone hoped it would. Everyone just pitched in and made sure sign-in was and sales were just as smooth as it possibly could be. I think they just did a tremendous job with the hand they were dealt that first day. Both days of the event were very well attended, I thought. I want to compliment you on helping me with the introductions of the first band of the day. And I think you probably did introductions later in the day too.
I did.
Yeah, good. And Derek, you were up there.
Derek did the headlines.
Very good.
I know, I wasn't very prepared, but.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah, staff didn't ask for you guys to do that, but thanks for hopping in.
Yes, it was very, very awesome. And so there'll be plenty more to say when we get our report next month about Blues and Brews, and we can all then just really thank staff for the extraordinary effort that they made. But I just wanted to acknowledge that in advance. I also attended the concert at the lake, and thanks to Chris Petlock and Jen Voice for coming out on a Sunday and manning our tent. My experience in handing cards to people was more often than not, we talked about the aquatic issues, and people were stunned to hear that our pool is 70 years old. And as soon as they heard that, they're off there, checking off the boxes because they just couldn't believe that we had such an old pool. So that was my experience, and I thought it was a good educational piece in that regard, because that particular line did identify the age of the pool, which was information I think people probably needed in order to be able to weigh in on what they thought about how we could improve. I did have a chance to step over to the comedy night, and I'll be talking a little more with Michelle about that. Anyway, thanks to Roger Branch for the effort of putting on an event to make money so that they can help us with the maintenance of the property over there. And I will not be at the library birthday party. We're also going out of town. I didn't say that. We're also not available. And so, but I am sending delegations of grandchildren to ride the train. So we will be represented. Our family will be represented there anyway. And congratulations to the library on its 1-year anniversary. So with that, I think we will adjourn this meeting at 8:26 p.m. Thank you all. Kevin, thank you again for all of your work at the Blues and Brews.
Will, you have got anything you want to say?
We want to take a picture?
Yeah.
A picture of what?
Yeah, we're headed out after this.
Oh, I was like, man. It's been quiet. I heard Will.
Or the church, I see the clothes that
They
come
closed.
early. Yeah.
Kevin wants to take a picture.
Oh, let's hear. Yeah.
Seated or
See us in
standing or
action,
what?
Right here.
Sitting. Okay, we're doing business. Got it.
Although we're looking at the camera. I'll be like. Pointing.
Got it.
Thank you,
You're
Kevin.
welcome.
It worked well before we went to closed session.
Yeah.
So this is the speaker. So it's working as a microphone, but it's not working as a speaker for some reason.
Yeah, because they could still hear us.
Yeah.
We weren't having to.
Yeah, but like I said, it was working. It was working as, I don't have to, it works.
Because you're doing
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, well, it's so, yeah, here, it's supposed to be an output, so it's not, so,
Oh.
yeah. But the microphone was working, and for some reason, it worked before we went to closed session, like I tested it, and I came back and I'm like, and then it wasn't
You
working.
didn't have a computer, did you? when you